Find it. Facebook. It's a little warm actually in here. No, 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 no. Pom 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 pom. There we go. There should be some information from John Chrysostom on Christmas, paganism, and holy days. Apparently, this is a picture of this Romanizer who hated the Jewish festivals, hated the Judaizers, and promoted, Roman traditions. Now, let's see here. Which, of course, there are some interesting things, that in regards to Christmas first being promoted in the 4th century. And again, I do wonder in regards of the Mithra religion, if that also gets swallowed up by Roman Catholicism in the 4th century. I need to, I would need to do some study on that. What happened to the Mithra pagan religion in regards of, I think there could be a possible chance, likely, that they might have been swallowed up in the 4th century, but I'm not entirely sure. But it disappeared at some point. The question is, when did it disappear? Were they forced into the Roman Catholic Church in the 4th century? We know that Constantine was the high pagan priest, the Pontifex Maximus, of the Sol Invictus. And Sol Invictus, as far as I can see, links to Mithra as well. So Sol Invictus is pretty much Mithra, as far as I can gather of information. Now, there are some difference, some say there is some links, but it's, and the difference, whatever. It seems to be pretty much this, Sol Invictus seems to be Mithra, as far as I can gather. It is, both of them would be considered sun religions or solar religions in regards of the sun in the sky, the dead sun. So it wouldn't be a surprise if the high pagan priest of Sol Invictus would maybe have done something or whatever to get the Mithra, the believing Mithra people into this Roman Catholic insanity system. But I need to know more history in regards of it. But it would make sense if it actually happened in the 4th century, and then the Roman Catholic Church begins to promote this Christ Mass tradition of theirs, which actually just is the tradition of coming from the sun worshippers in regards of Mithra, Sol Invictus. So anyway, and we can see from some of his documents that there are conflicts in regards of this new tradition. And of course, why wouldn't there be conflict? Because this is not something that that has been kept for, well, nearly 400 years. Anyway, and he goes into promoting this. Apparently he has multiple sermons on this. So anyway, so John Chrysostom, a doctor, so-called doctor, of the Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox churches, the improbably named Protestant publication Christianity Today went so far as to claim he was the early church's greatest preacher. Yeah, well, at least for the Roman Catholic Church, maybe. It also seems that he believed in the cookie Jesus as well. That they believe the cookie becomes divine, that it becomes a real flesh and all that. That was at least one of the writings. It did seem like that that it pointed to that. Of course, wouldn't be a surprise if he was a Romanizer. So anyway, and in regards to Christianity Today, I wouldn't trust that magazine. I haven't really, but I think they were the ones that actually attacked Alberto Rivera. And all that. But anyway, who was speaking up in regards to who the Antichrist is. In the late 4th century, he made various comments about paganism, Christmas, and biblical holidays. Since many of them were in the fall and winter of the year, this seemed to be an appropriate time to report about some of them. John Chrysostom wrote the following in the 4th century. And what, pray you, is that Minerva of theirs, and Apollo and Juno? ? There are different kinds of demons among them. Chrysostom and so forth with all this. I'm not going to, but anyway. So on the surface, it appears that John Chrysostom condemned pagan gods, yet he ended up endorsing a holiday original for the sun god Mithra. How? It was John Chrysostom got the Orthodox in Constantinople to observe Christmas on December 25. We may take it as certain that the feast of Christ's Nativity was kept in Rome on 25 December. It was introduced by so-called Saint John Chrysostom into Constantinople and definitely adopted in 395. So you see, already in regards to these traditions of Christmas, it takes nearly 400 years, after the event for it actually to become something that is kept. It's disgusting. And when, in regards to that, but it would make sense if Roman Catholicism is trying to get the pagans into the Roman Catholic Church or forcing them into the Roman Catholic Church, then it of course would make sense if they so-called Christianized a pagan festival of the Sol Invictus in regards to Mithra, so to help to get these pagans inside the church under the wings of the Antichrist. Anyway, John Chrysostom admitted Christmas was not part of his church traditions in a sermon. So I see Chrysostom in a Christmas sermon delivered at Antioch at the year 386 says, "It is not 10 years since this day, Christmas Day on December 25, was clearly known to us." So if he says that it's not 10 years since this day was clearly known to us, so that's so it's not even 10 years since this day was known to them. So okay, so let's just take worst case scenario. So that would be 376. That's the worst scenario, right? So in 376, they get this tradition which he promotes in regards of the Romans knew when Yeshua was born and blah 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 and all that, right? But you see him attacking the Judaizers and the festivals that is actually found in the Bible, yet he goes on to promote such bullshit like this. Anyway, so it was clearly known to us. And I really need to get more words in regards of synonyms, in regards of bullshit, But anyway, so it was clearly known to us, but it has been familiar from the beginning to those who dwell in the West. Oh, really? Really, 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 really? The Romans, who have celebrated it for a long time and from ancient tradition and have transmitted the knowledge of it to us. I know that. So, his claim that Rome or the West knew it from the beginning is blatantly false. The knowledge of December the 25 does not come from any ancient, actual Christian tradition. As pretty much everyone who has looked into the history of Christmas knows, December the 25 was selected because it was the birthday of the sun god Mithras. It was not, and Mithras connected to Sol Invictus and so forth. So again, you see the connections in regards to Constantine being Sol Invictus, right? And if that, that's just Mithra, as far as I can gather of so. It was not an original practice of true Christians in Rome or any part of the West. John Chrysostom should have known that and taught against it. No, because John Chrysostom was doing the job of the devil, attacking the Judaizers and promoting bullshit. Anyway, why question mark? Notice also that the Catholic Encyclopedia freely admits that Christmas on December 25 was not celebrated by the early church, and that it was Mithra whose birthday was observed anciently on December the 25. But of course, the guy that is on YouTube apparently knows better, right? That's nothing pagan in regards of Christmas. Yeah, well, the word itself goes back to the cookie Jesus. You have all these. You have to be either you are lying or deceiving, or you are blind. That's the three options that of course, lying that would go hand in hand with deceiving. If you're going and then going on to actually proclaiming that the festivals in the Bible have pagan roots, that's just utterly, you just see the devil's work in that. And if people can't see that, they are, you have to be kidding me, Anyway, so notice also that the Catholic insight, some might fall for these things, and the thing is we have to stand up for the truth so people don't fall into these lies and deceivers out there. It is utterly disgusting. How can anyone say that there's nothing pagan in regards to Christ Mass? It's literally, it's literally flowing out in, liquid out of, it's like, it's literally just flowing out of every corner of this tradition, that it's pagan, and again, the pagans know it's pagan, so they have no problem celebrating it. To just call it something else, there's other names for it. But yeah, the pagans have absolutely no problem in celebrating the December 25 because they know it's pagan. Anyway, it's just the deceived Christians that have not apparently understood that because people are out there lying and deceiving them. Notice also that the Catholic Encyclopedia freely admits that Christmas or Christmas on December 25 was not celebrated by the early church, and that it was Mithra whose birthday was observed anciently on December the 25. So here we go. Mithraism, a pagan religion consistently mainly of the cult of the ancient Indo-Iranian sun god Mithra. Sunday was kept holy in honor of Mithra. Well, if you actually, in regards of Mithra, in regards of Sunday, that is in regards of Sol Invictus. So again, you see a link in regards of Mithra and Sol Invictus. So when you hear Sol Invictus, just think Mithra, and if you hear Mithra, you just think Sol Invictus, pretty much. There seems to be a connection there, and we have rules where they're making rules in regards we should keep, we shouldn't Judaize and all that. We should keep Sunday instead, in regards to the venerated sun god Sol Invictus and all that. So anyway, and the 16th of each month was sacred to him as mediator. The 25th December was observed as his birthday, the Natalis Invicti, the rebirth of the winter sun, unconquered by the rigors of the season. And I'm not going to check the... here we have another. Christmas was not among the earliest festivals of the church. And again, if you look at John Chrysostom, and I'm sure you can find many other sources probably, collecting the puzzle pieces and all that. But it would be some interesting things to see some really deep history on the 4th century, because a lot of things was going on, and the snippets I have here and there, I would like to see what actually happened to the religion of Mithra, if that actually went into, went into Roman Catholicism at that point. So that would be something to, figure out at some point. But I think that could be absolutely possibly be the case, because that is where we see Christ Mass beginning to be, coming forward, right? So if the Roman Catholic Church wanted to have these Mithrans inside that, having them come, it would be easier to lure them into the Roman Catholic system if they actually had traditions that was equal to these people, right? So yeah, just changing the names and all that, and say you do it for Jesus Christ and all that, and even if it's actually sun worship. Anyway, so in regards of the dead son, so let's see here. More information goes there and all that. Anyway, mainstream Christianity will continue to try to overlook the fact that it adopted pagan practices, condemned biblical ones, and still prefers traditions of men over the Bible. And that is, if you look in history, that is actually absolutely what happens. These people, these Romanizers, are condemning the biblical festivals. They are leaving the festivals. They're calling them Jewish, and they're calling those people keeping them Judaizers and all that. They're what do you call it? They're tagging them. I'm not sure what the best word is here, but they are they're really going against them, and then they go out and promote the Roman traditions, the Roman bullshit. Anyway, clearly that doesn't seem right, and it seems to be ongoing in our days, So, yeah. Another Roman Catholic supporter. But I guess one thing that when people come out and attack the truth, I guess one of the things is that, you get the information more concentrated and you see where they want to attack, right? So this guy that talked with David Wood was attacking like Michael Rood. He was attacking what is it called? I can't remember what his name is. And they were attacking New Torah in regards of Zechariah. Calling him a crazy fundamentalist. And in regards of Michael Rood, calling him a moron. And then we had the other guy from can't remember what his name was, but do I have him someplace? But he also made some pretty good information in regards of Christ Mass. But I can't remember his name at the moment. But he's in jail at the moment, I think. So, in any case, so another Roman Catholic supporter wrote this about the Council of Nicaea a few decades later. So this is John Chrysostom again. So it seems like, if I remember, if this is what I think it is, I think he's trying to defend that these people at the council changed. And actually that would be a witness that actually confirms the document that I have in regards of there's like happy, we are now all in agreement to keep the so-called the so-called Passover according to Roman traditions. They're in regards of Easter. And of course, not all agreed to that, because we can see that on John Chrysostom, because he's talking about that there are many in our ranks, that have these different opinions in regards of, and they're apparently Judaizing, as they say. So that's late 4th century. So anyway, 300 so-called fathers, or even more, gathered in the land of Bithynia. I guess that's one of the other councils, I guess. But I thought the other document I had, that was from Nicaea, and it had in regards to, anyway, whatever. Bithynia, and ordained by law. Yet you disdain their decrees. You must choose one of two courses. Either you charge them with ignorance for their want of exact knowledge on this matter, or you charge them with cowardice, because they were not ignorant, but played the hypocrite and betrayed the truth. Well, when you do not abide by what they decreed, this is exactly the choice you must make. But all the events of the council make it clear that they showed great wisdom and courage of that at that time. You can see how he's twisting things. He's, instead of going back to the Bible, right? He's trying, these people, they knew, this and that and all that, right? Why don't you want to follow what these people at this church council have, anyway, the article of faith they set forth at the council show how wise they were, ... At that time, the whole synodal gathering wielded together from these champions, along with that definition of what Christians must believe. Also passed the decree that they celebrate the Paschal feast in harmony together. They refused to betray their faith in those most difficult times of persecution. Would they sink to pretense and deceit on the question of the Easter observance? You're already calling it Easter at that point, apparently, according to this. Look what you do when you condemn fathers, so great so-called fathers, so courageous, so wise. This is from the homily 3 against the Jews. And if you want to read, where he attacks the Judaizers and all that, that's these 8 homilies. And he's probably doing it other places, but that's what I've read, those 8 homilies. And it's just interesting to see how he's attacking these festivals of Jehovah found in the Bible, and then goes on to promote Christ Mass. It's just disgusting. So it is an article of, but I thought it was as far as my document in regards to the Council of Nicaea, that actually talks about, that we are now all in agreement in regards to keeping it to Roman traditions. They even use these words in regards to traditions and all that. I don't know if it was a correctly documented. It said it was and it also did have the thing in regards. So I think it was a valid document. So, but anyway, I haven't verified it further. So it is an article of faith that Roman Catholic bishops had the authority to change the scriptural date of the Passover and make it an Easter celebration, even though Constantine said part of why he wanted it to have nothing in common with those he called the detestable Jewish crowd. That's interesting. Even though Constantine said part of why he wanted it to have nothing in common with those he called the detestable Jewish crowd. Interesting, right? So we don't want to have anything to do with the Jews, yet Jesus was a Jew, keeping the law of Jehovah, but we don't want to do that. It's just incredible. How just give me a break. But this was simply not the faith of the true 2nd century Christians in Asia Minor. As Polycrates testified, the last words of his response to Roman Bishop Victor about changing the date of Passover to Easter Sunday was, I therefore, brethren, who have lived 60... And by the way, that's the wonderful letter. Really, I've read that letter a lot of times and turned back to that. That's, I always tend to turn back to that letter. It has some really, really good stuff. And again, I wish we had more material from Asia Minor, because that was the place that stood against Rome for a long time, and they also rejected Paulus. So it is the right place. It is also the way where Yeshua is writing, or is letting John write to the seven congregations. So it is exactly the right place that we would want to look for most truth, for most light. And sadly, I think we have, as far as I can see, we have lost a huge amount of information from that area. And that's very sad. Anyway, I therefore, brethren, who have lived 65 years in the Lord, and have met with the brethren throughout the world, and have gone through every holy scripture, and not affrighted by terrifying words, for those greater than I have said we ought to obey God rather than man. And that's Polygratus' letter to Victor, Bishop Victor in Rome. And it's a wonderful letter. It's an awesome letter. It's so wonderful a letter, I think. It shows so many things. It shows that they didn't take the Bishop of Rome's, they didn't take his authority over the Bible. They took the Bible as the authority to follow after. They also, in regards of awaiting the resurrection, they believed in the sleep that these people, that lived in the Lord or was sleeping. They didn't go directly to heaven. They were sleeping, awaiting the resurrection. It shows a lot of things. Yeah, it's just an amazing document. And also shows, of course, that they actually kept Passover according to the Bible. And, he leads it back to the Apostle John, Apostle Philip. And interesting enough, he never mentions, the so-called great Apostle Paul, right? Well, maybe because they rejected him. But anyway, but sadly, we don't have, I think we lost a lot of. Melito wrote against Marcion in the 2nd century, and who knows if he might have had used some of the things that actually was exposing Paul. That would have been so interesting. But anyway. So those who held to the original faith and tradition from the Bible would not accept the change of Passover, but John Chrysostom did. Notice also the following. All saints, as early as the 4th century, the Greeks kept on the first Sunday after Pentecost the feast of all martyrs and saints. And we still possess a sermon of Chrysostom delivered on that day in the West. The feast was introduced by Pope Boniface IV after he had dedicated as the Church of the Blessed Virgin. And that's another false doctrine in regards of the Blessed Virgin, because she wasn't a virgin. Anyway, and the martyrs, the Pantheon, that's the place where the Pantheon, you usually see this Pantheon thing in regards of pagan gods, the Roman pantheon of gods or the Greek pantheon of gods. And here we see it in Christian in regards to the pantheon. As the Church of the Blessed Virgin and the martyrs, the pantheon, which had been made over to him by the Emperor Phocas. The feast of the dedication was kept on the 13th of May. About 731, Gregory III consecrated a chapel in St. Peter's Church in honor of all the saints. So are the saints now become the pantheons? And you can then pray to the different saints for different things and all that. If I remember correctly, they actually just exchanged their pagan gods and then giving them names of saints, and then instead of praying to different pagan gods that was clearly visible pagan, you were then now praying to different so-called saints. Anyway, it's just I want that information. I think came from the guy that I can't remember his name. Really need to collect the information and know the names of these people, because they have some really good information. A lot of these people. Anyway, from which time All Saints' Day has been kept in Rome as now on the 1st of November. From about the middle of the 9th century, the feast came into general observance throughout the West. So anyway, All Saints' Day. In the 4th century, neighboring dioceses began to interchange feast, to transfer relics, to divide them, and to join in a common feast. And you see also the relic bullshit as well in regards of, anyway, to divide them and to join, in a common feast, as is shown by the invitation of Saint Basil of Caesarea, 397, to the bishops of the province of Pontus. Frequently, groups of martyrs suffered on the same day, which naturally led to a joint commemoration. In the persecution of Diocletian, the number of martyrs became so great that a separate day could not be assigned to each. But the church, feeling that every martyr should be venerated, appointed a common day for all. The first trace of this we find in Antioch on the Sunday after Pentecost. We also find mentions of a common day in the sermon of Saint Ephraim the Syrian, 373, and in 74th homily of John Chrysostom, 407, and so forward in regards of All Saints' Day. Okay. So John Chrysostom is credited for observing another holiday that did not come from the Bible. See also All Saints' Day, the Day of the Dead, and All Souls' Day. A few decades after Christ Mass was adopted by Rome, the Roman Catholic Saint John Chrysostom preached the following in 387 AD. Oh yeah, that's in regards of, this is where he's attacking the Judaizers and the festivals of the Bible. The festivals of the pitiful and miserable Jews are soon to march upon us, as one after the other and in quick succession. The Feast of Trumpets, yes, which is found in the Bible, by the way. The Feast of Tabernacles, which is found in the Bible, by the way. The fast, I'm not sure why he uses the plural fast. I'm not entirely sure I know there's one fast, but not plural fasts. In regards of afflicting yourself on the Day of Atonement and all that. As I can gather, when he's talking about the Feast of Trumpets, he's talking about the whole 10 days. And the Feast of Tabernacle, that's 8 days total, 7 days, and then the last great day, that's the 8th. Anyway, the fast. There are many in our ranks, many. Do you see even if we don't have the information from those that are actually keeping these, we have from their opponents like Chrysostom here that says there are many. So what does that mean? That there's still many in our ranks who say they think as we do, yet some of these are going to watch the festivals, and others will join the Jews in keeping their feast and observing their fast. So many, that's many, right? I wish to drive this perverse custom from the church right now. ... If the Jewish ceremonies are venerable and great, ours are lies. Well, you're right about that, They are lies, Just go to the Bible and check it, Just read the Torah and figure out which is actually found in the Torah. And of course, the festival of trumpets and the festival of tabernacles is found in the Bible. But is Christ Mass found in the Bible? No. Is All Saints celebration thing found in the Bible? No. So anyway, who do you think is actually... So anyway, if the Jewish ceremonies are venerable and great, ours are lies. You're spot on that. And they are. Anyway, does God hate their festivals and do you share in them? He did not say this or that festival, but all of them together. Well, he's trying to spin things around, to try to but God hated them and all that in regards to the festivals and all that. Yeah. Well, we need some context to these things. So yeah. So you really see the Romanizers, how they twist the things and promote the Roman traditions, changing times and laws and all that, and leading people away from the Bible. Let's see here. The wicked and unclean fast of the Jews is now at our doors. Though it is a fast, do not wonder that I have called it unclean. But now that the devil summons your wives to the feast of the trumpets, it's the devil's, okay, and they turn to ready ear to this call, you do not restrain them. You let them entangle themselves in accusations of ungodliness and let them be dragged off into licentious ways. I guess he really had his things in regards of words, but so did Paulus. Just because you are very well educated and so forward doesn't mean that you're working for, and so you really have to be careful. Excuse me. So also the law fixed the Feast of Tabernacles. What does he say here? So also the law fixed the Feast of Tabernacles. Well, Tabernacles again is found in the Bible. So I'm not sure what that's in regards to Catholic Christians of Antioch turning to Sabbath and the new moon day and other holy days. Still against the Jews, apparently. Anyway, so John Chrysostom preached against the fall holy days because some who profess Christ were observing them. Well, actually many, right? Wasn't it many? It said many, right? Yet John Chrysostom wrote in favor about another festival of the Jews. Let's see. When it says the day of Pentecost was fully come, that is when at the Pentecost, while about it in short, for it was essential that the present events likewise should take place during the feast, that those who had witnessed the crucifixion of Christ might also behold these, ... And it says there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men. The fact of that dwelling there was a sign of piety, and that being of so many nations, they should have left country and home and relations and be abiding there. Now, why would there be a lot of Jews from a lot of different nations? Well, in regards of this festival, it's commanded to come out to Jerusalem at that point. 3 times the men commanded to come out to Jerusalem. Anyway, for it was Pentecost anyway. So yeah. So he admitted that after the resurrection, the faithful needed to be present at what was then considered to be a Jewish feast. If God was opposed to all of them, why would the apostles have kept it? The obvious reason is that they were following Jesus' example and had no reason to believe that they were somehow done away. For more on Pentecost and what John Chrysostom and others wrote about it, please see the article, Pentecost, Is It More Than Acts 2? Anyway, the thing is, they kept to the festival. So, and we also see that in Asia Minor, as far as I can gather, of the puzzle pieces. So, furthermore, notice that the New Testament calls one of the so-called Jewish holy days great. Notice the following from both the Protestant and a Catholic translation. On the last day, the great day of the feast, Jesus stood and cried out. Okay, well, it's the last great day. I'm not sure if it actually talks about it being like, but it's the last great day of the year, and it is a high Sabbath, if I remember correctly. So who is right? So I'm not sure he's getting exactly right in regards to this, but he seems to be saying that it says it's a great, but I guess, but it's the great day of, the last day of, the last day of the last festival, or the last day of the last, the last great day, pretty much. So who is right? Those who follow, but I guess maybe I don't know, maybe I'm just misinterpreting it. So who is right? Those who follow Jesus' practices, or those who condemn them? Recall that John Chrysostom, in this case, somewhat correctly stated, if the Jewish ceremonies are venerable and great, ours are lies. Yeah, we would agree with that. And what do we do in our days? Well, we keep to these pagan traditions. But yeah, some truth will truth will seemingly, come out sometimes in regards of, okay, this is not working so good. Tired. Really should go to bed. So which days should be observed, which have a great day according to the Bible, which days are lies? John Chrysostom supported days with pagan ties, such as Christmas and Easter, and these traditions are coming from Rome. His logic for Christmas on December the 25 is clearly wrong and based upon lies and misinformation that he spread. So it should be obvious that God's days are not lies, but his and those of churches who adopted those days that he promoted were clearly lies. John Chrysostom was not faithful to the scriptures, and no one should follow his false traditions above the word of God. Yeah, I agree with that. Several items of possible related interest may include, different things. Yeah, okay. Yeah, anyway, I guess we got that through. I guess I'm done, pretty much. John Chrysostom. Should write that. Oh. Yeah, something like that. If the Jewish ceremonies are venerable and great, ours are lies. Huh? Yeah. And they are. Of course, the Jewish festivals are the ones that Jehovah have instigated, and not pagan bullshit. Oh yeah, here we go. That was the ministry of the 119. I still can't remember the name of the guy that. Yeah. But he had some, something in regards to Christmas and Easter and all that. That's great. So he goes into that as well. Ugh. I really should go to bed. Oh yeah, here we have the Roman pagan god. That's the god of the Roman Catholics. Yes, it's a cookie. The Roman Catholics are worshipping a cookie. It is utterly disgusting. It is wicked. Some of these things where what you see, what they actually have it's just paganism with with an outer surface of Christianity to fool the world. So the world believes it's actually Christianity, while it's actually pagan to the very core. Again, Satan is a crafty deceiver. But you see the sun rays, and they put the cookie Jesus, it's one of these fake versions of Jesus, and they put it in the monstrance, and people are allowed to worship it. And they can find out walking around with it, and all this is bullshit. It's all of this, it's nothing to do with Christianity. But, yeah. So when Roman Catholics are talking about Jesus, they're really not talking about the real Jesus. But they sound like they're talking about the real Jesus. But they're talking about the cookie. The cookie of the Roman Catholics. Of Romanism. And, yeah. Now you know. It's pagan bullshit. It's sun worship. Look at it. It looks like a sun, and then you have rays around it. In any case, now of course now it breaks down. That's what happens sometimes. Anyway, what do we have here? Anyway, mainstream Christianity will continue to try to overlook the fact that it adopted pagan practices, condemned biblical ones, and still prefers traditions of men over the Bible. And exactly what has happened. You see them, they say that the Nazarenes are heretics. They condemn the Nazarenes. And why would they condemn the Nazarenes, the first believers? Because they still kept the law of Moses. They still believed that the law of Moses was applicable, that we still should keep it. Is that really enough to condemn someone as a heretic? You have to be kidding me. And these were the first believers. This is the first group of Christians. And yet, and then they're just condemned. Now, of course, it's because Roman Catholicism is really not Christianity. Roman Catholicism is deceptive. It is lying. It is a religion of murder. It is a filthy, filthy, filthy religion. Makes it out to be something it's not. It's the old pagan Roman mystery religion that amalgamated with, Christians, took on sheep clothing, but it's still the same whore that has always been there. Anyway, and she's riding all the 7 heads of the beast. So she's there from the beginning. She was there before Yeshua came into the world in flesh, in regards of being revealed to the world and to his own people. She was already there, so working in the world. In any case. So Roman Catholicism is just the old pagan mystery religion of Rome that took on sheep clothing and continued their, working for the devil, Pontifex Maximus is a title of the Antichrist. That would be the so-called Pope. And that's the high pagan priest. And if you look at Constantine, he was the high pagan priest of what? Sol Invictus, which is Mithra, and who was born on the 25th December. And what do you see in the television on, you see the Antichrist in the television. Yeah. Directly sent from the Vatican. So, yeah, that's just great. Oh, there we go. Jim Stanley. That's the guy. I wonder if... let's give him a thumbs up. Um, he gave some good information, I think, on different topics. Sadly, in regards of Christmas, Hanukkah, and the Antichrist, I do wonder if he actually points to the Antichrist being the Pope. That would be interesting if he actually gets that right. I don't know. That would be interesting. I guess I should probably see that at some point. Who's who? And the Antichrist. We have Truth or Traditions from Jem Staley. He made different videos. It's a good amount of years, but every time I see someone having Christmas trees and celebrating Christmas and all that, you're just aware that there might be some problems here. So. Yeah. But that will probably, that's probably be pretty good, I guess. Yeah. Oh, I'm so tired. Incredible, I'm so tired. That's actually pretty nice. But yeah, it was Jim Stanley, the other guy. So we have Michael Rood. He's one of the people that promotes the festivals of the Bible. We have Jim Stanley was promoting the festivals of the Bible. We have Zachariah from New to Torah. He also promoting the festivals of Jehovah. Then we do have some of these Sabbath-keeping congregations like the Church of God. I think there's different kinds of denominations and all that, but they are also adhering to the festivals of Jehovah. So it's nice to see, that there are groups out there actually, and of course they might have some issues here and there and all that, right? You can always find issues. The question is, are they trying the best, to the best of our ability, right? We are all learning. And it's 119 ministries that Jim Stanley was in. I wonder when he's actually coming out of jail. I think he has been in jail for a pretty good amount of time, and it's very sad to lose him, because he was coming up with a lot of good information, I think, and getting information out in regards to these pagan celebrations. And we have Michael Rood. Michael Rood has the biblical calendars and so forward, for example, and he points up, I think I'm actually on month 10 and not month 9, but I think he went with the Jews in this case this time. But still, he's, even if one is not in total in agreement with Michael Rood, it's still wonderful to see us moving in the right direction, and that's still in regards of when the new year starts and all that. There's some conflicts, you also have conflicts in regards of when the month starts sometimes, in regards of have the moon been spotted in Israel or not, and so forward. And yeah, so we're still calibrating into these things, and more people are coming to look after the moon and look at how the land of Israel is and so forward. So yeah. Anyway, so it's very nice. So Michael Rood have his ministry, Rood Awakening. Stanley was like Jim Stanley had his ministry, 119 ministry or something like that, and then we of course have Zachariah and all that. But I'm not totally entirely sure how much these people actually talk about the Antichrist. It doesn't seem to be the primary thing they're talking about, as far as I remember. They're not totally, but there are others that actually speak on that topic. Tom Fresh. Oh, that was the name, Tom Fresh. I think Tom Fresh is the best in regards of speaking on Protestant history. So Tom Fresh, if you search Tom Fresh in YouTube, you should be able to find, he has made a lot of programs, and Tom Fresh is just wonderful. In regards of, now of course there will always be something that one doesn't agree with and all that, but in regards of history and Protestant history, he was reading one book after another in regards of Protestant history, and it's just wonderful to old Protestant books, going to see what the Protestants actually believe, because we have no clue in our days, and we have no clue we don't even know who the Antichrist is, right? But the Protestants knew. It was like second nature for them, and yet we don't know anything in our days. So I don't remember if there's others that are helpful in regards of truth. In regards of trying to actually go back to. I guess there probably is others. You learn from different people. There's a wonderful Jew that I've seen, and he did studies in regards of Christianity and all. Oh, I just love that. I just love the as regards to Nazarenes, I think, yeah. Oh, by the way, that's the guy that have the. This guy have the. Have the COG writer. That's the guy that writes on COG writer, and he has some really, really powerful information as well. Again, it's not all that I agree with, but I don't think, as I understand it, they don't believe in the Trinity, which I think is just, I don't understand how they can miss that. But anyway, so whatever. But he has some really, really good information besides. And again, you can always find issues here and there, right? That but the thing is, the people trying the best that they can, right? The sect of the Nazarenes, I think is part 2 that has some really, really good information as well. Sadly, that he's reading from, and sadly I couldn't find that information. So who were the Ebionites, how the early church left its Jewish roots. And then there's a Jewish guy that was talking about on top, how the church fathers invented Christianity. And this Jew is a believer in Yeshua, and he studied, and he's showing some of the things in regards to the Nazarenes and all that. And it's just, I think it's wonderful. I think it's so sucking information from different sources and all that, where some people know something about this topic, others knows about another topic and all that. I don't really have there's a sermon as well from a guy in regards to the Nazarenes, in regards to what he talks about. They went to Pella. He goes through the history of them and all that, around an hour or something like that. He was pretty good as well. I guess I don't think the videos here. Let's see that maybe this would be no. Yeah. Yeah, that's the guy I was thinking about. So he talks about the Nazarene route and all that, and follow it. And now we have another guy that seems to actually have found the link where the Nazarenes actually went after that, because it's like I follow the Nazarenes, and then of course they're spreading here and there. They're sometimes but I couldn't really figure out overall where they, and the guy, this guy that was on Michael Root seems to have found out where they actually went and so forward, and he has written a book about that, which could be very interesting to read, to get more information on that, because that's very interesting, right? Because the Nazarenes was the first original group, of believers. Anyway, so yeah, you have I have something in regards of the Nazi thing, but a lot of the things gets banned and all that from different sources. But anyway, in regards to Hitler was a Roman Catholic in good standing with the church until his allegable death, and they don't want you to know about that. It's incredible how much they are. Anyway, that's Tom Fresh. Global Vatican, I think, was his. No, that was not the last book. Romanism, I think, that was the last thing. So he didn't finish this. No. Was it Romanism? I think it was Romanism. 191. Tom Fresh, The History of Romanism. I think that was the thing that he was going through. Global Vatican, I think he finished actually. I haven't finished it myself, but I think he did finish this one, and that's in regards of a Roman Catholic actually writing this book, and Tom Fresh is then coming with his inputs and all that, and there's a lot of things being exposed in regards of the Vatican, and it's coming directly from a Roman Catholic source. So Tom Fresh is the best that I've seen and heard in regards of Protestant history. Jörg, which has a YouTube, Jockler66, is also pretty good on these things, But Tom Fresh, I think, is the best of and again, there's a lot of things I wouldn't agree with them on, but they really know a lot in regards of Protestant history. That's their subject, where they're researching a lot in regards of Protestant books and reading them and studying and so forward. So I would suggest those two guys for that. And I my favorite is Tom Fresh. Tom Fresh is just wonderful. He just says it. He says the things that, it's just, he pretty much, he says a lot of things that you don't hear other places, and I think that's wonderful. So again, you learn from different. Alberto Rivera is an interesting source as well. He said he was a former Jesuit, and I think that's true. But it's a very slippery, but that guy knew a lot of things, like the infiltration thing and all that. He's just answering these questions like it's not. To say that he wasn't this and that and all that, that's. He also pointed to who the Antichrist was, so that's always a good thing. Now again, not all the things that one would agree with, but he put awareness in regards to the Antichrist again. But I did throw out the magazines I had from him. I read them all, and I ended up destroying them because depictions of God, if I remember correctly, and the pagan things and all that, and I was spiritual attacked when I had the magazines, and I was afraid that I was opening myself up to. But again, of course, maybe it was because there was information in those magazines that the devils don't want, or Satan don't want out. I don't know, but I was pretty. I was hit hard. So I ended up destroying the magazines and getting them out of my house. I wasn't, some of these magazines have a lot of occult imagery, and I wouldn't have that normally. Cleaning out the house, right, in regards to occult things, and then you get these magazines that are actually full of these occult symbols and all that. Now, of course, still exposing, a lot of things for sure. But the thing is that it depicted God, and I'm not so certain that that was. In any case, I ended up destroying them. But there was some, the best magazines was from Alberto Rivera. There was some really, really good information exposing that system. A lot of things that I didn't know, which the more you get to know, the more you find out he was telling the truth. Yeah. So that's. I guess I'm a little sad that I don't actually. I would like to read the magazines again, the cartoons. Anyway, Ken Johnson had some good information, as but apparently he's promoting the gap theory in regards of the 70 weeks and all that. Of course, other people are doing that, but they might have good information. Anyway, this guy, Bible Chronically, Dr. Bao and Dr. Floyd Jones. I think it's Dr. Floyd Jones that he found a source from in regards of Rome, in regards of making Jesus into a god. Now they rejected that and all that. But the thing is, the source has to be before 31 AD or not later than 31 AD, because this guy, in regards to these informations and all that, died in 31 AD. So it has to be before that it gets to Rome in regards, hey, there's people worshipping this Jesus dude as God and all that. Shouldn't we put him in the pantheon of Rome and all that? And that was rejected. But that's an interesting source because, of course, it's again a verification that Yeshua was, of course, alive, a historical person. But it also, narrows down when you're trying to calculate times and whatever. Anyway, then we have Walter Martin. You can get some good stuff as well from him, but I think he worked from. I think it was a wolf in sheep clothing. And Alberto was actually also pointing that out. There was seemingly some problems, and I found problems with, multiple problems with Walter Martin as well. Don Patton is wonderful, but he seems on his website to actually defend lawlessness, using Paulus and all that. But overall, Don Patton had some really, really good stuff in regards of creation and, dinosaur footprints with man and all that. It's wonderful. Anyway, I wonder how many of these things I actually have seen. Well, I should go to bed. Oh, here we have where the pyramids built before the flood, Masoretic text vs. original Hebrew, and in regards to the dating of the age of the earth. Very interesting to go into. It's some time since I actually did it. Here we have the Markstein tree of three early Anabaptists. He's an Anabaptist and he was a soldier. And he, in regards of reading the gospel, got him to, and I think his wife as well, to get out of the military. But he's an Anabaptist, and he has a whole lecture in regards to the Anabaptist, hours and hours, and it's just wonderful. I really love the Hutterites. The Hutterites was just, it's like, that was my favorite in regards to the Anabaptist. But, they, but you have the Amish, you have the Mennonites, and you have the Hutterites. And, today you also have a group of that's called Brethren in Germany, at least. But overall, they just called themselves Brethren in the beginning. But, then you have these three, these different groups today. So, the Hutterites would be the ones that I would be most interested in. But anyway, working as a community like the first Christians, and they sent people out 2 and 2 to preach the good news and all that. It was just wonderful to hear how they did things. To go back to the original congregation in the beginning, of sharing everything like in Christian manner and all that. It was just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Anyway, yeah, I should actually. I haven't listened to those. I have so much information. I guess collecting information and all that. The idea, of course, is to narrow things down so it becomes easier for other people to get to the point where, so people can quickly get to that point, not needing to go, use years and years to figure out what. So, and I'm thinking, I think I have in regards to the Nazarenes, I think we pretty much have them reconstructed in some sense by the information that we have. So, yeah. Anyway, I guess it's bedtime. I'm just tired. So, I should. Oh, there we go. I should go to bed. Anyway, no one sees these videos anyway, right? I'm just talking to myself, but I guess someone talks to the mirror to practice, and I guess I'm getting some practice out of this in some sense. I don't know. Whatever. Have a good one. I need to sleep.